with the new Spider-Man game coming out and Loki Season 2 started now, I think, I decided this would be a good time to talk about my thoughts on the MCU. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. At the beginning, I was a huge MCU fanboy to the point where when a trailer came out, I would watch it. I would then watch reactions to it. I would then watch the breakdowns and Easter eggs of the trailer. I would then watch theory videos of what the movie could be. I would then watch like what inspirations from the comics it was from. Then I would be the first person with my butt in the seat of a midnight premiere to watch the movie without looking at any reviews or anything like that. Going home, spending another hour or two watching people's reactions online, discussions, all the Easter egg videos, stuff like that, and then going harassing my family members and friends and dragging them into the theater to see the movie 2 or 3 more times. I was intense with it. I really was, all the way up to, like I said, Endgame, and then things started to change. Marvel has gone from quality to quantity, and I know a lot of you have heard that already, but it is really true. Nowadays, I begrudgingly do not want to go to see Marvel movies or TV shows. I wait for reviews to come out because I do not trust the brand anymore. I do not think that they are being consistent enough for me to just give them my money and go do what I want to do. Now, if you still like the MCU, if you still like the movies from Phase 4, Phase 5, that's fine. That's your opinion. This is all subjective. But I'm just saying from my personal experience, it's definitely been different and a letdown compared to what they'd previously given us. See, the problem is Marvel was giving us their A game at the very beginning. So when they have a good movie, it's a great movie. And when they have a great movie, it's a phenomenal movie. But then when they have a bad movie, it's not really bad. It's not like a actual bad movie. It's more like mid because it's just not comparatively as great as the other stuff that came out. Now they have some real stinkers though, and those are like in the 2% of the whole Marvel catalog. I would include Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World into that category. But the rest, like if they weren't as good, they were just mid comparatively to all movie and TV. Well, once again, it's subjective, so what I'm saying might not really equate to what you think, but besides the point. I was a huge MCU fan, and now I am desperately trying to get back into it, but I can't. I respect myself too much. I cannot get into it until they could prove to me that they're back on solid footing. Endgame was a solid ending for the first chapter of the MCU. I definitely think Infinity War was better than Endgame as an overall movie. I think Endgame was more of just remember berries and just nostalgia. It was more of an event, like a fan event, whereas Infinity War was actually a movie. But that's besides the point. I think after that, things just started falling apart. Sure, had some, surprise movies such as Spider-Man No Way Home. That was absolutely amazing. Not by any means a perfect movie. It's very flawed, but come on. It was so fun to just have all the Spider-Men back. So, I'm going to give that one a pass, even though I know some people are like, eh. And then, what other movies have came out that I enjoyed? Shang-Chi almost had it, but by the third act, I tapped out. Once they get to the mystical place, it just became your run-of-the-mill Marvel movie. The first 2 acts were very good, kind of punchy, quick, quite punchy with the martial arts and the fight choreography and stuff like that. It was incredible. Aquafina also her character was a little bit annoying, but Shang-Chi was almost there, but it didn't quite make it for me. And then Guardians 3 was the only other one that I really enjoyed out of these phases. Eternals I didn't even go into the movie theater to watch. I tried watching it on Disney Plus and I fell asleep. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness had my foot almost out the door, quitting on the MCU entirely. And then Thor: Love and Thunder was the nail in the coffin where I was like, yep, I'm done. I do not want to keep putting my money and time and energy into this because it just got so crazy. So where did it all go wrong? Well, there's a lot of things and a lot of variables, but to make this quick, essentially, I want to get one myth out of the way already, and that's superhero fatigue. It doesn't exist. I watch the John Campea show, and John Campea always says this, and I completely agree with him, which is why I'm saying it now, and that's there's no such thing as superhero fatigue, it's mediocrity fatigue. People are getting tired of mediocre movies. If you put out a good movie with a good story, good characters, and all that, people are going to see it. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians 3, they have proven that if you put out a good movie, people will go see it. Word of mouth happens, and people will go out and see it, but if you just put out generic origin story superhero movie or a movie that just hits all the same beats that people have seen time and time again, then people aren't going to see it. It's mediocre. It's not great. Basically, all of the DC cinematic universe. So that's not really the issue. Now, Marvel does have a formula issue to a degree. It's a weird thing where it's like it's the reason why it's been so successful, but then at the same time, it's kind of why a lot of people that were following it for so long are starting to like waver a little bit. And what I'm just gonna say on that is a lot of Marvel movies, they like to be punchy and quirky and have quips, right? That was the big thing. Avengers really started that. But the thing with Avengers was Josh Whedon had the characters be quirky, but he had them be quirky by their own little standard. My examples. Iron Man. He's always been the tongue-in-cheek, ready to go, rapid-fire quirk guy. It's Robert Downey Jr. He started this whole thing, right? So he has that. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. Although I don't really like her as the character or the character in itself, very dry, blunt, matter-of-fact kind of jokes when she's joking. She does more of that in Captain America Winter Soldier. Hulk is more the sciencey, geeky funniness, right? Or the physical comedy, honestly, because when he's big, when he's Hulk, that's when the funny stuff comes in, like the stairs in Avengers Endgame, right? So he's the physical humor. He's more of like that kind of slapstick. Then you have Hawkeye, who has quips and jokes, but he's old because in this universe he is old. He's got kids. He's got a family. So that works for him. Captain America, he's Mr. Goody Two Shoes. He's always in the right. He's no swear words, which was like the big opening jokes for Avengers Age of Ultron. So they had their jokes around their character, around how that character is portrayed, but then it all kind of just blended in together, and now everyone's quirky, everyone's quippy, but it's all the same type of quips. Everyone's just emulating Robert Downey Jr.'s quips. And I get you want to cut tension in a scene, but they do it so often and so frequently now. It's insane. There needs to be a good balance. And I think at the beginning they had a great balance, and then pretty much towards the end, after Endgame, they're just like, oh, let's just not worry about it. Let's not write really good jokes and quips and stuff. Let's just have it in there because people can't be sad. People can't soak in the moment. I'm being really bitchy about it, but honestly, like, there are some dark, heavy moments in earlier Marvel properties that don't just immediately get destroyed by a quip or a joke. Like, they're there to really hit the viewer and then let it sit there for a minute before moving into a funnier scene or a funnier line of dialogue. And it's just, they got away with that almost completely. Especially by Multiverse of Madness, because anytime there was any ounce of feeling, ounce of sadness, it would just be, oh, hey, here's a quip. Don't feel bad. Here's a quip. Feel good again. And it's so tiresome. I went on a tangent. Where was I? Multiverse of Madness, the formula was kind of part of it, but it was really, the storytelling was bad. It was just really bad. And then you get to Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't even know what that movie was. Ragnarok was one of the top 5. Oh, it's so bright in here now. I can't remember if there are any other ones in Phase 4 that I skipped. That's how bad it is, where I can't even remember what movies really came out. What makes it really more even confusing and complicated is now the TV shows. The TV shows have been hit or miss. So for those of you that don't remember, they announced the TV shows after Endgame during the launch of Disney Plus, which I believe launched during COVID. So it was giving people stuff to do, and it was a selling point for me, at least, to get Disney Plus. I didn't really care about anything else so much. The fact that we were getting cinematic MCU storytelling in a TV format was enough to sell me. Because at Endgame's level, like, I mean, if we're going to get stuff of that quality and the previous quality of movies, then sure, sign me up. Of course, I'm going to be on for the ride. I was naive, okay? So, what happened? Well, one, they shoved out so many of these things, right? And a lot of that had to do with the change of CEO, Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek wanted to change direction a little bit, change the course of the ship, Kevin Feige was no longer that. Like, he was still the head of Marvel Studios, but he now had to report to more people and more executives making the calls. So he kind of lost his freedom a little bit. He's gotten it back now that Bob Iger is back in the seat of CEO. But for a while, Bob Chapek was there, kind of holding the leash for Kevin Feige, demanding that this MCU content went to Disney Plus, and they were shoveling this stuff out. I'm talking like 3 or 4 TV series a year, which would sound exciting, but at the quality that they were, nope. No, 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 no. Let me tell you about the Marvel TV shows real quick. Not only did they try to make it so that you had to watch the TV shows to understand the movies, not to a huge degree, but you would miss certain parts. If you didn't watch WandaVision, you would be vastly confused in Multiverse of Madness. So, I mean, that's one of the bigger examples. But the TV shows tried to weave so much in, but then also be their standalone story. But then the standalone story wasn't even good. They started leaning on cameos and references to bigger Marvel IP and the movies rather than just trying to focus on a story. All right? So we got WandaVision first, which was either a mistake or not. It's really confusing because it's the best out of the Marvel TV shows. It's actually really good. It's my favorite because it's actually designed around the TV formula. Each episode is pretty much its own little thing. I really, really enjoyed the WandaVision show up until the end. The finale was really bad. I did not like the finale. It put a bad taste in my mouth, which I'll get into for these future shows. So that one was good. And then we just got stinker after stinker. Loki was okay, but there was a lot of filler in like the second episode, third episode. Also, it's like the premise, Loki's back, he didn't die. He's an alternate version of himself. And he speed runs becoming back to being like the anti-hero. He's a villain in the beginning of the show. Like, he's Loki from like 20 whatever. When did the first Avenger come out? Like 2013? He's that Loki, but then by the end of episode 1, he's like back to like the Loki that's had all that arc and character. It's stupid. It's so stupid. It's so forced, and I hate it. Moon Knight was a really beloved character, really wanted in the MCU, and I think they had some good episodes, but for the most part it was bad. And a big problem with the Marvel TV shows is that they were trying to make them like the movies. They were doing 30-minute episodes, but only 6 episodes. Like, what the like, what are you going to do with that? Just put out a movie then. And there's some characters that I think deserved a movie versus the TV show. Falcon and Winter Soldier. If you're setting up the next Captain America, the next leader of the Avengers team, you should be giving him a movie, not a TV show, because that sends a message, the wrong message to a lot of people if Sam Wilson is now a TV show character becoming the new Captain America. And then people are going to be confused once he's on the big screen, the more casual fans. It makes absolutely no sense. Which kind of leads all this to my point is, who are the Avengers? Who are they? For the first phase, we had the core Avengers, right? We had Iron Man, Captain America. Those were the two kind of front-run leaders of the group. Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye. You had... who else? Thor. He didn't really do much in the first few Avengers, which is why I was a little, like, I was forgetting him. Thor, and then you had a few more characters added in, right? Vision, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver for a very quick moment in time. And going back to Quicksilver real quick, WandaVision, like, they threw in a cameo that didn't mean anything. Like, that's what they're used to doing now, just throwing in references, throwing in cameos. It's absolutely ridiculous, not telling a cohesive story. They're just doing stuff to be fan servicey and to get that money. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And then, of course, the big scope, the Infinity War, the Endgame, you had a lot of characters come in for that as the Avengers, but it should be a more tightly knit group. Now, if you want to do different factions, like an Earth-based Avengers, a space-based Avengers, and a Mystic-based Avengers, that would be really cool. I would be down for that. That's not what they're doing, and we don't know what they're doing. They announced King Dynasty and Secret Wars, but we don't even know who the core Avengers are. It's supposed to be Sam Wilson leading, but it's like, okay, well, what about Captain Marvel? What about all these characters. They introduced so many new characters. They introduced so many new faces, so many new side characters that are completely pointless. TV show characters are now in movies, like Miss Marvel, and it's too much. Too much can be a bad thing. Too much can be a bad thing, okay? It can be, and it is. Sometimes you need to keep things on a smaller scope and then gradually build out. But now we're in this mess where everything's just a hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge. I'm going all over the place, and that's just because I'm really passionate about this, and I'm sorry. Hopefully, some of you can follow with me. So I'm just going to end on this, okay? The MCU started off a little bit shaky, but then got really, really good and pretty consistent all the way up until Endgame. Then after Endgame, things started to change with leadership. Things started to change with the priority for Disney Plus and the TV shows, and the overall quality of these movies were diminishing as the quantity was ramping up. The TV shows, most of them are pretty decent up till the end and the finale, and then they completely drop the ball. There's so I didn't watch Secret Invasion, but I heard Secret Invasion did that, where it was pretty good all the way up to the end, and then they completely dropped it. Moon Knight was good, I think, up until the last 2 or 3 episodes, but I mean it's a 6-episode run, so it kind of tapered off. Winter Soldier wasn't really that good at all. Not Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So yeah, this room is just, God is saying, hey, finish up the video now. Melt for insulting precious Disney's MCU. Yeah, I'm tired. It's a lot to keep up with. A lot of the stories are mediocre or already done before. A lot of the characters are just quippy NPCs. There's no serious tone. The Guardians 3, I think, was kind of an outlier. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Guardians 3 was an outlier because James Gunn got to direct it and he had a lot more freedom because Disney screwed him over earlier by firing him for really stupid reasons. And so I think they kind of let him have reins a little bit more and a little bit more creative control. But even that movie wasn't great. It was a little bit clunky here and there. But I mean, comparatively to the shit that we got before, it was absolutely a banger. I don't know what to think. I was excited for Loki Season 2 back when I was watching Loki, but after all this stuff that's been happening with the MCU, I have to wait till it wraps. I have to wait till the finale and then see what people think about it before I even consider going on Disney Plus and looking at it, which is just not a great place to be at if you were an ex-fan of the MCU. Future MCU projects I have no excitement for, except maybe Deadpool 3. But we have to see what they're going to do with that. The creative liberties they're going to have now that Deadpool's part of the MCU and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine's in it. So there's certain things here and there I get excited about, but for the most part, it's just all gone to shit. The Spider-Man video games have better storytelling, right? And it's just, I don't know. Personally, me, and I know I said I was wrapping this up, I think what they should have done was after Endgame when there were snaps to get everyone back. So you had Hulk snap, and then you had Iron Man snap. That should have done something a little bit more consequential. It might have been a little bit more confusing for audiences, but I think that's when you could have started bringing in variants of people. Start making it so that the snap, the blip, the whatever brings in people from different universes, so that way the people that were done with their contracts could be out and we could have new people. Sure, there were tragedies like Chadwick Boseman passing away, but they should have recasted T'Challa. I know they were just trying to pay respects, but Shuri is not the right fit for Black Panther. Not because she's a woman. I don't. Yes, there are tons and tons and tons of comic book incels out there that are so mad that there's strong female protagonists in their MCU. I'm not one of them, but if you're going to do a female lead, they have to make sense for the role, and they actually have to be a decent enough character, and I don't think Shuri's quite there. And the ending of Wakanda Forever was really stupid, and they were leading into a really cool dark direction, and they decided to just... They were cowards. They did not want to commit to that. Regardless, women can be superheroes and they can be the leads in these Marvel projects. I'm not saying that that's the issue. I just think they should have honestly just recast it T'Challa, and it would have been Sam Wilson's Captain America, the new T'Challa's Black Panther. Those two kind of like leading the front with the returns of Doctor Strange, of Hulk, if you want to keep Hulk in there, Thor's still in there, and Captain Marvel and a few of the others. Right, keep it consistent, keep it a little bit tinier with the Avengers, do an Avengers movie like that, and then start bringing in more people. Do King Dynasty and do, because it's too much to juggle now. Is what I'm trying to say. But they shafted Doctor Strange's character in Multiverse of Madness. Everyone's a joke now. Everyone that I loved as a character is a complete joke. This rant was crazy. It was all over the place. I apologize. There's just so much I want to talk about with this. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think of the MCU and the state of it right now? I'm hoping it gets better, but at this point, I'm so tired. I just don't know if I should just even consider jumping back on ship if things get better with the change at Disney. Yeah, that's it. Bye.